Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the spiritual power of colour, especially in art and especially in Gustav Klimt, whose book I have right here, this amazing radiant gold cover. The work here is called Fulfillment and it's part of a frieze. Klimt, of course, is very strongly associated with the use of gold in works such as The Kiss and many others, but he wasn't always. His use of gold in art really follows a trip to Italy, where he saw the 6th century Byzantine church, which is the Basilica of San Vitale in Ravenna. And in the mosaics there he encountered a lot of gold, and he was very strongly impacted by that. And shortly after, it came out in his work, such as The Kiss and such as the work that was on the cover of the book I just showed you. And Klimt was raised Catholic, but he wasn't particularly religious. However, he's very strongly associated with Eros. There are many depictions of lovers in his art, beautiful women, states of ecstasy. And the word Eros is very, very interesting because it's often in the modern world associated specifically with sexuality. However, it has deeper meanings than that, or let's say meanings which go beyond just that. So I'd like to read from a book I've mentioned before, which is The Ethics of Beauty by Dr. Timothy Petitsas. So he defines Eros as the kind of love that responds to divine beauty by making a complete gift to the beautiful of all that we have and are. Eros is not a sexual love per se, even though it is a gift of the whole self, soul and body alike. And he quotes the British philosopher Alan Bloom, who describes Eros as love's mad forgetting. So, when we are depicting that which transcends the self, we may depict it in terms of romantic love, we may depict it in terms of a spiritual image, we may depict it in terms of the incredible beauty of creation. Another artist that I love the use of colour in is Redon, a symbolist. And his work, again, was not for most of his career explicitly religious. Later on in his career, he did start to use a lot of images of Christ and Mary and so on. And when it comes to the use of colour in art and the spiritual power of art, I've been deeply affected by Redon. His colours seem to vibrate in a transcendent way. He used a lot of pastels, and pastels have some incredible colours that you don't always find in other art media. And as I mentioned before, Lord Harries in his book Art and the Beauty of God put forward the proposition that artists are representing that which is beyond, that which transcends everyday life, and that they are really working with spiritual powers. They may not identify as religious, they may not be religious. I'm not even categorizing the work of artists who did not identify as religious art, and yet the sacred for me goes beyond just the word religion, or any one religion certainly. And it is that which is beyond, that which puts us in touch with something glorious and something beyond ordinary and everyday life. And I've mentioned before how affected I was by the gold in my grandmother's paintings and the domes of the Russian Orthodox churches and the background of some of her paintings. And then that was as a small child, and then decades later when I visited the Russian Orthodox cathedral, I was very affected by all the gold in the icons there and the gold of the candlelight and the beautiful singing which seemed to speak of gold, even though it was musical notes obviously. And beyond just gold in art, we experience gold in nature, in the rising and the setting sun. And in fact, in filmmaking, it's described as the golden hour when you film a scene either in the hour around dawn and following dawn, or the hour just before total sunset, when the light of the sun casts a golden light on everything that it falls on. And so colour in art, it goes beyond the mind, it goes beyond understanding, as true and deep art does for me. I didn't always appreciate abstract art. I trained in art a long time ago, and even after art school I had a little bit of a block, as many people have, about abstract art. However, it was when I saw the art of an artist called Howard Hodgkin, and his works are abstract. He actually says they are figurative, and that they represent real scenes from his life, and yet you can't necessarily tell. They're often assemblages of dots and blobs and stripes. And it was when I went to his show and I had a pure emotional response to the colour in his art, and I was just taken to another place. I couldn't tell you what was in the paintings. I couldn't describe in a rational way what was being depicted there, but I had a direct experience of something beyond the surface of the painting, which I experienced with Klimt, which I experienced with Redon, which I experience whenever a colour is so pure and vibrant and transcendent that it simply takes you beyond the mind. And I felt that with a small number of artists, but I also felt it in many other artworks, not just visual art, but it's what we experience when music takes us beyond ourselves, when dancing takes us beyond our mind, which I will talk more about in future videos. Ecstasis, being beyond the self. And so in a future video I'm going to talk more about the beautiful use of colour in icons and the use of art in churches. I'm going to talk more about Redon, talk about some of the filmmakers who really touch me and take me to a place beyond ordinary everyday life. And I hope you'll join me on this journey. And if some of these ideas, thoughts have sparked interest in you, I'd love to hear your comments below the video. And if you'd like to share and subscribe and like, that would be very helpful. And I look forward to joining you in a future video. You joining me, in fact. I'm already here.